Welcome to the DPI Drupal workshop. My name is Mona Ilayan, and I'll be presenting this introductory session on Drupal. Before we begin, let's run through the learning objectives for this session. I would like for everyone to take away the following: the value of Drupal as a content management system, understand Drupal from an administrative point of view as we look at the back-end features of Drupal. We will look at some Drupal modules, learn how to access them, assess them, and install them onto our personal sites. And finally, I would like this to be a hands-on experience where you can play with Drupal. Let's start with a quick overview of Drupal. So let's start by understanding what is Drupal. Why would anyone use Drupal, especially since there are so many other systems out there? Would Drupal work for you? Drupal is an amazing content management system. Let's break it down a little. A content management system is a system that allows you to collect and manage your information as well as publish it. Drupal is free and open source. Open source means it's software that can be freely used, changed, shared, and developed by many people. Drupal is actually run by volunteers. Initially, it was created in 2000 by Dries Boyart. It's flexible, it has a friendly community that is willing to help, and there are thousands of modules created to help customize your Drupal site. And what makes it so amazing is its out of the box categorization system. And for a little bit of trivia, I thought I'd tell you that the name Drupal is a misspelling of the word drop in Dutch. I've listed the pros and cons, and I'll go over them with you. Some of these points have been made already. Here are the pros. I've only listed a few down here. Free and open source. Excellent categorization system. Dynamic system for managing and publishing website content. Highly customizable with thousands of available modules. Open and friendly community that is willing to help. The cons, on the other hand, are mainly that it has a steep learning curve beyond the basic features. Once you've developed an understanding of its backend, which can take time, then it's easy to build. Although it is free, some custom components or modules that are unique to a site require programmers and developers to create. That can be expensive. And if you're wondering how steep is that learning curve, yep, it's steep. It's that black line you see on the graph. Don't worry, this session will not take you all the way to the top. Let's look at if Drupal is right for you. If you're looking for a simple blog, then just install WordPress in 20 minutes and start blogging. If you're looking for a system that provides more out-of-the-box features than WordPress, yet simpler than Drupal, then go for Joomla. If you're looking for a system that offers a great range of flexibility, allows you to add features, functionality, provides an excellent out-of-the-box categorization system, then Drupal is right for you. All of this comes at a price of complexity. Okay, so now that we've established all of this, and you gained a general idea of Drupal, let's start working with Drupal. Let's take a look at Drupal. So we'll start by navigating and learning about Drupal's backend. Then we'll adjust some settings and configure our front page. I'm going to go ahead and visit my Drupal Fresh install. When you first access the page, you'll notice that you have very little access to anything. The interface is simple from the public view. You can see the Drupal logo, site name, home button. You may have a search field, login area, body, and your header and footer areas. As soon as we log in as an administrator, a lot more features appear, and we have full access to the Drupal toolbar that contains the content, structures, appearance, people, and help menus. So to quickly go over these, the first button up at the top is the Home button. It takes us to our home page, which is this page right here. Then you have the dashboard. It gives administrators a customizable overview of important site information. The Content menu. Here is where we find, manage, create content, such as pages and manage comments. Structure is where we create content types, taxonomies, edit blocks, and configure menus. The Appearance menu is where you would change the appearance, install and update themes. It's where we control the look and feel of the site. Your People menu is where you would manage and create users, their roles and permissions. Modules is where you would add features to the site. On a clean install, we need to enable the Update Manager module first so we can access the Install module option. I'll do that right now. We just have to scroll down, check the box beside Update Manager module, and click Save Configuration. You'll see the Install New Module button appear at the top. The Configuration menu is where you would configure your module's functionalities, account settings, and settings for other administrative tasks. The Reports menu provides information regarding your site security, important updates, and site activity. And finally, your Help menu offers instructions, guides, links to online documentation as a useful reference. Under that toolbar, you'll see a gray bar. You can use that bar to create menu shortcuts. We'll get back to that later. Here's a quick review of the interface as it appears from the public and administrative side. Public has limited access to the features that control the site. The administrator has full access and control of the site. Again, here's the summary of the menus that appear on the page as soon as we log into Drupal. I'm going to demonstrate how to change some configuration settings as an initial exercise. So the first thing we're going to do is change the site name and logo. So let's change the site name and logo. First, you want to click on the Configuration menu, click Site Information, and then you want to change the site name to something else and add a slogan if you like. Make sure you click Save Configuration at the bottom of the screen, otherwise you'll lose all your Drupal work. Drupal is like a web form. Unless you press Save or Submit, you'll lose the information you filled out. Remember that throughout. Now let's change the logo. Go to the Appearance menu, click on the Settings link under the default theme, scroll down to Logo Image Settings, uncheck Use the default logo, then click Choose File to browse your local computer for an image. Select the image in the folder, click Choose, then click Save Configuration. So now my site name is renamed to DPI Literary Course, gave it the slogan of The Future of Literary Studies. So now at least we have a site that is customized with our site name, slogan, and logo. Before adding content, it's really important to understand the workflow that goes into creating a Drupal site. Before building our Drupal site, we have to first start by planning, understanding what content types we'd like to use, how we would like to present the information, and what kind of roles we will create for our site users. Once we've established a strong plan, we can start creating our content types and add content. Then we'll change the look and feel of our website and finally add user roles and assign permissions accordingly. If you don't plan, you'll end up with a site that does not meet your needs or present your material in the way you would like, and it will cost a lot of money to reconstruct it. So it's important to follow this type of workflow with Drupal. Now that said, I'm going to assume we've already planned for an English literature course. This will be the example I'm using, and we're now ready to jump into creating content types. If we're building this English Lit course website for students to access information regarding their course readings, we want to add information regarding the texts covered in the course, the author's name, a brief description, type of book genre, and maybe even offer a historical context. A dynamic syllabus where information can be added as the course progresses and allow students to make comments and engage with the readings. Before we start adding content, it's important to think about what kind of content types we need. And that, again, is part of the planning. As you can see, it's a crucial stage in setting up your Drupal site. To create a content type, you go to the Structure menu, select Content Types. Here you can add, edit, delete, and manage the fields created for your content type. You can even manage the display. So if we're working with our example, English Lit course, the first thing we want to do is consider what type of content we'll be adding. The syllabus will be one content type that contains the following fields: text or book title, author, book image possibly, brief historical content and description, and genre. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to the Structure menu, select Content Types, add content type, give it a name, in this case it'll be syllabus. You can put a description in the description box, but I'll leave it blank. I think it's self-explanatory. I'll change the field label to syllabus, and then I'll click Save and Add Fields. The first thing I want to do is to change the body field name to something more descriptive. I will use the body to enter the historical information and description of the book in here. So I'm going to click the Edit link on the far right and change the label to Historical Information and Description. And I'll make it required. Again, I could enter a description, but I won't for the sake of moving along with this example. There's nothing I need to change, so I'm going to go ahead and click Save Settings. Now I'm going to enter a new field called Author. Select the field type as text, click Save. I don't want to change the maximum character length allowed for this field, so I'll click Save Field Settings again. I'm directed to another window. Here, I can set whether this field is required to fill or not. I don't need to change anything else, so I'm going to click Save Settings, and I'll go ahead and add my book cover field. For book cover, my field type will be set to image, because I would like to add an image. Then I'll click Save. Click Save Field Settings again in this window. I won't set the field as required, and I'll just go ahead and click Save Settings. You have the option of setting limits on your image, maximum and minimum size, and the size of the thumbnail preview, but I'll stick to the default settings for now. And now for my last field, I will enter genre. Again, this will be a text field for now, and I'm going to follow the same steps I took to create the author field. Taxonomy. Now that we're done creating these fields for our syllabus content type, let's consider our genre field for a second. Genre can be considered a taxonomy in Drupal because we're adding tags to these books to identify their category, and taxonomy provides an efficient tagging system that allows students to obtain listings of books with similar genres by a click of a button. Let's create a couple of genres. To do that, we would go to Structure, Taxonomy, Add Vocabulary. Let's name it Genre. We could add a description if we want, but genre is self-explanatory. Just click Save. Then select Add Terms. Let's say we create these genre terms, social satire, for example. You can also add a description of what it is, but this is more like metadata, and the description would not be published. Once you're done, just press Enter, and you should have another empty field where you can enter Novel of Manners, and you can continue that way. Let's add romance and comedy so we can have more vocabulary in our sample list. You can always add to the list, but let's just stop here for now. Once you're done adding genres, click Save, then click the List tab at the top. Now we need to link this tagging system with our content type. So let's go back to Structure, Content Types, Manage Fields and Syllabus. We are going to first delete the genre field we created initially and recreate it. Once you've selected the field type, you cannot change it in Drupal. So it's always good to plan these things ahead of time. Planning is important. Okay, so we will go ahead and create the new genre, and for field type, we'll select Term Reference, leaving it as checkboxes, radio buttons, and then we'll click Save. In the next window, you will need to identify which vocabulary or taxonomy you will be using for this list. In this case, it'll be book genre. Select that and then click Save Field Settings. Now in the new window, you'll see that you can change the label name, add some description. If we scroll down, you'll see the radio button list we've created. Scroll a bit further down, Genre Field Settings, there's Number of Values. where we can set it to unlimited because we want to be able to select as many genres that apply to our novels or texts as we want. Again, you have an opportunity to confirm that the vocabulary settings selection that you've made was accurate. Then click Save Settings. If you selected the wrong vocabulary or want to limit the number of genre selections, you can always go back to your content type and click Edit next to the genre field. Now that we've set up our content types, I think we're all ready to add content now. Here's the content I'll be adding. I'm going to have my class read Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, and I'll go ahead and use this information for my first entry. So let's now click on Content, Add Content, and we're going to select Syllabus. Remember I mentioned this gray bar before where you can add shortcuts of some of the menu options here? Well, do you see the small plus sign next to the content? If we click that, it will automatically add the menu to the gray bar. So instead of going back to Content, then selecting Add Content, we can just click on the menu item and we'll be in the Add Content window directly. Let's start creating the first syllabus entry. If you click on Edit Summary, you'll see the big text box splitting into two. One for summary, a teaser, and the other for the full historical description. In this window, you can see how important it is to give these fields meaningful names. This way, we don't really need to think about what needs to go in here. The historical context title is self-explanatory, and you can always go back to your content types and edit these field names. Once I'm done, I'm going to check that the comments settings is open. I want students to make comments about this book. And we can click Save, and that'll take us to our content. If you would like to add more information to the content created, you can always click Edit in either window. Okay, so this has been really cool. You know how to organize and add content. Well, let's look at how some of the out-of-the-box content types that are available in Drupal work. So we have articles and pages, and these are the out-of-the-box content types that are available. Articles are time-sensitive materials. You can think of them as posts that are relevant within a specific time frame. When you click on article, you'll see that you can enter a title, tag, body, text, and an image. Once published, it will appear on the home page and sorted in order of publication date. An example of an article would be posting a link to a scholarly article that addresses some of the issues raised in, let's say, Pride and Prejudice. This reading would be more relevant around the same time the students are studying Austen. To access articles, just go to the Content menu, Add Content, and select Article. Pages, on the other hand, you can think of as static. They're usually for content that doesn't change. The comment section is disabled and it's not published to the home page, so you have to make sure to provide a menu link in the main menu so as to access this page. An example of a page would be the professor's and TA's contact information, office location, and office hours for the year. This information will remain on the page without any change until possibly next year when you start a new class. Modules are an important aspect of Drupal. They extend its functionality and allow you to customize your site to fit your needs. There are two ways of searching for modules. You can either go to the drupal.org/project/project_module page and enter the criteria you want and the name of the module you're looking for. Or, and I find this very simple, just Google it. The most popular module will be the first one in the search results. An example of some modules that we could use on our site would be the polls or 5-star rating module. Students can rate the readings and it immediately indicates the popularity of a specific text. There are so many people that are part of the Drupal community that are creating modules. What you don't want to happen is to install a module that has a short lifespan because it's not quite ready to be used in a production site, or it's an orphaned module developed and then abandoned for whatever reason, or you install it and it's just not right for you. So to avoid that, you need to watch out for the following. It's very important to read the description and the documentation for the module before installing it. You want to make sure the module will be doing what you want it to do and that you know how to operate it once it's installed. Always review its maintenance and development status. If it's actively maintained and under active development, then you know that this module will be around for quite a while. Read about the developer and their experience with Drupal. That will give you a general idea of the level of experience and the developer who has created Drupal modules. The downloads rate and reported installs are also important because those numbers can really offer insight into how much this module is used. The dependencies tells you if the module requires other modules to run. You will also have to go ahead and install those dependencies to run your module. Here are the steps you would take to install a module. Once you've selected your module from the Drupal.org website, scroll down and right-click on the link under Downloads. Select the module that fits your version of Drupal, select Copy Link, go back to your Drupal site, click Modules, then select the Install New Module button. Paste the link in the Install From URL, click Install, then select Enable Newly Installed Module. Search for the module, then check the box next to it, then click Save Configuration. The 5-star module requires the voting API, so we'll have to install that tool and enable both. Again, it's really important to read the documentation to learn how to use modules newly installed. I'm going to add another field to my syllabus. Go to Structure, Content Types, Syllabus, and let's create a new field called Rating. The field type will be the 5-star rating options. I'm going to make it a 10-star voting system. Now choose the option to allow the viewer to set the rating, then select Save. Now I'm going to go back to my home page, click on my first syllabus post, and rate the book. I'm going to give it a 10. I love Pride and Prejudice. There are a number of ways to change the display in Drupal, either through the Content Types Manage Display or theme blocks. Let's do that. Let's go to Structure, Content Types, select the Content Type syllabus, click on Manage Display located on the right, and go ahead and rearrange information, hide labels, align information within a limited capacity. Blocks are not content, but they offer us regions where we can place our content. So let's go to Structure, Blocks, and click on Demonstrate Block Features shown at the top. This will show us the theme layout. This gives us an idea of where we can place information on our site. Once we're done examining the layout, we can close this view by clicking the Exit Demonstrate Block Features. In the block page, if you scroll down, you can see how everything is currently placed. The system help is in the help bar, and so on and so forth. You can move all of these blocks around based on the theme layout. You can always reference the Demonstrate Block Features to help you with this. Now you can also create a new block. Let's go ahead and do that. Click on the Add Block. Let's add a title. Let's say, Welcome to the course. The description would be about the course, information in the block like a little message. For the region settings, you can change where it's located. And for the visibility, specify a page or with specific content types, or users with specific roles, or give the user control over where the block appears and when they can see it. I'm going to place the block on the front page so everybody sees it. If you have a number of people managing the site, Drupal offers roles and permissions as a way of controlling access. Not everybody has the same level of access to the site. Depending on the role the user is given, they are assigned special permissions. And all of this can be modified by going to the People menu in the top bar. The roles available from a fresh Drupal install are Administrator, Authenticated User, and Anonymous User. The anonymous user is any user who visits the site. Authenticated user is any user who has login access to the site but is not an administrator. An administrator is someone with full access and control of the site. We are not limited to these roles. Drupal allows us to create new roles as well as to test the permissions given to these roles using the Masquerade module. Let's go ahead and see all of this. First, let's click the People menu. In my window, there is only one user, because that is the only user created for the site for now, and that user is the administrator. Let's click on the Add User link. If you look at the bottom, you will notice the available roles. Because Anonymous User is just about anybody who visits the site, there's no need to assign that role. So, we only have the Administrator and Authenticated User to choose from for now. It is here that we can assign users roles. Now, let's look at the Permission tab. Then go to Roles. You'll notice the three types of users are listed here, and you are given control over assigning them new permissions. Maybe you don't like the default permissions provided by Drupal. You can come here and change all of that. Let's first go ahead and create a new role. Let's say we create an undergraduate student assistant role. We can do that in this very window. Let's edit the student's permission. You have the option of renaming the role or deleting it. Let's say we only want the assistant to add content and edit content. Then let's click Save Permissions. The role is now created. If at some point the role changes and you would like to change the role name, just click Edit Role. We have a role now. We want to assign a user to this role. Let's create a user. Let's go back to our People menu, click Add User, then enter the student name. Let's give it an email, but it has to be a fake one for now. Let's give her a password, set her role to Undergraduate Student Assistant, then click Create Account. You see that the new role we created is now added to the roles listed here. Fantastic. I've added written instructions here as well for future reference on how to create a new role, and then a user who is assigned that role. Before we end, I'm going to show you one last thing because it allows you to test the roles and permissions we've created. First, you need to install the Masquerade module to do that. I've mentioned it a little earlier. Let's go ahead and see how this works. It allows us to masquerade as the undergraduate assistant. First, let's install this module. Let's go to the drupal.org/project/masquerade site. Right-click, copy the link, go to Module, Install New Module, paste the link, click Install, then click Enable Newly Added Module. Place a check mark next to Masquerade to enable it, then click Save. Now Masquerade is enabled. We have to go back and configure it so as to masquerade as our student. Click on the Configure gear that's next to the Masquerade module, select the Undergraduate Assistant, then add a menu item that will appear in one of our blocks. Click on the username in the block and start masquerading. You can see if the student has any other permissions besides the ones set in the Permission tab. One thing to note is that you should set up roles at the end because you want to make sure you set up the roles and permissions for each role on every aspect of your site. If you do it at the beginning, then every time you add new functionality or modules, you'll have to set up the permissions for these roles again. I've placed a number of resources here to visit, such as the Drupal community, Drupal answers, groups, camps, and cons. You will get a lot of information. If you have a question, more likely than not, somebody at some time has answered it. So conduct a thorough search for things you have questions about before you go ahead and post that question to the community. You'll be surprised how much is on these forums. This was sponsored by the University of Toronto Scarborough and its library, Ryerson University, Brock University, and this research was supported by the Social Science and Humanities Research Council of Canada. A special thanks goes to Ryerson for hosting Day 3 of the conference, Center for Digital Humanities, Ryerson University Library and Archives, the Director of E-Learning, the Learning and Teaching Office, the Office of the Dean, Faculty of Arts, the Department of English and its MA Literatures of Modernity program, and the Master of Digital Media program for donations of financial support. The Dean of Faculty of Humanities, Brock University, for a contribution of financial support towards the conference, as well as contributing to planning. Victoria Owen, Chief Librarian at the University of Toronto Scarborough, for her generous financial support and staff resources. Shirk Connections grant, without which none of the wonderful research and discussions generated here would be possible.